everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. My name is Faith. Thank you so much for being here. Today I am sharing with you my top 5 favorite foundations. These are specifically liquid foundations that are really good for dry skin. I have pretty dry skin and they're all like medium to full coverage. I recently did a foundation declutter. I will link that down below if you want to check it out, but I have tried so many foundations. I'm pretty sure there were close to 50 different foundations in that declutter. What that allowed me to do is really see which foundations I use the most and just clean out the ones that I know don't work for me. These 5 that I'm going to show you are holy grail foundations that I love every single time I use them. They are foundations that I recommend to people a lot when I get direct messages on Instagram or things like that. I recently had a couple different people ask me for recommendations on liquid foundations, and I recommended a couple of these and they came back and said they loved them. So these are just foundations that I always feel confident recommending to anyone that has dry skin and is looking for a liquid foundation that's like medium to full coverage. Even if you're just slightly oily in some places, you can still get away with a lot of these by using powder, but specifically what this video is really for is for people that have dry skin. If you are a returning subscriber, you probably could guess what at least 3 or 4 of these are, because I do talk about them a lot, but this video is really to get in more depth on each of these foundations and make a video for people that maybe aren't familiar with my channel but just want to come here and see what some good foundations are for dry skin. If you are new to my channel and you do like what you see as you're watching, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel before you leave, and also tap that notification bell as well if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. Other than that though, guys, let's get right on into these top 5 foundations for dry skin. I'm going to start with the foundation that I actually put in my best of beauty for last year that I still love. It is the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear Foundation. This is actually the closest to matte, like a matte finish foundation that I have in the top 5. If you're someone with dry skin, you will know that matte foundations can tend to be kind of tricky. This is a really good one. It never clings to my dry patches or anything like that. Everything will be linked down below as well, of course, if you're interested in shopping through anything. But I really like this. This is a higher end foundation, but I really only need 1 or 2 pumps to get the coverage that I desire, which is medium to full. So I highly recommend it. I think it's worth the investment. It does have SPF 15 in it as well if you are into that, and it is supposed to last 24 hours. I've never worn this for 24 hours, but I can say it definitely lasts, I don't know, 12 to 15, which is like an all-day wear for me. So I highly recommend it, and again, it will be linked down below. Next, I want to talk about a foundation I am sure you have heard of before, but if you have not tried this, I suggest that you do right away. This is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. This was huge on YouTube maybe 2 years ago, and that's why I picked it up, but it's still to this day one of my favorite foundations. It is a medium to full coverage foundation. It's oil-free. This foundation definitely, along with the Lancome one, could really be used for any skin type. But why I like this for my dry skin is because it's probably one of the most full coverage of all of the ones I'm going to talk about today, and it's not super dewy. I'd say it's like a satin to natural finish, which sometimes even satin to natural finish foundations can still stick to my dry patches. So I really love this. It never does that. I also love how many shades they have now. They recently expanded the shade range. So definitely check this out if you have not already. I use this a lot. This is one of my favorite foundations to wear if I'm going out because, again, it just provides some really nice coverage. You only need a pump or 2. It does last a really, really long time. There's also something about how this foundation pairs with my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, which is the concealer that I wear every day. There's something about the 2 of those together that just meshes well. I know that Too Faced did recently come out with a concealer. I actually have it here, the Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer, and I figured those 2 would go really well together, and they do. I just am not a huge fan of this concealer with any foundation, to be honest. I just love my Tarte Shape Tape better, but there's something about the combination of these 2 together that just makes like my under eye and cheek area look so good. So I highly recommend checking this out. Lots of coverage and a natural finish while still giving you good coverage. The next foundation I want to talk about is a very affordable brand. This is LA Girl Pro Coverage HD High Definition Longwear Illuminating Foundation. This foundation is so underrated, and I have to explain how I use this because I have to be honest, I don't use this foundation on its own very much at all. How I have used this most is adding in a pump of this to my Too Faced Born This Way foundation, the one I just talked about, if I want to give myself even more dewiness and glowiness. I don't always do it. I love the Too Faced on its own, but if you want to get a dewy, full coverage look, it's hard to do. There's not that many full coverage, like really full coverage foundations that are super dewy and glowy, and the combination of these two is so good. I actually mixed this in with the foundation that I'm wearing today, which I'll get to in a little bit. It really mixes well with anything. If you are like even more dry than me, I would say I'm like moderate to slight dry. If you are like very dry, you'd probably love this on its own. The only reason I don't love this on its own is because it's like really dewy, like almost greasy. But if you need that, moisturizing effect, you would love this on its own, and it's so affordable. I literally think this is $7-8. Again, it'll be linked down below. You can get it online at Ulta. I don't know if Ulta has it in store. LA Girl is well known, but maybe not as well known as some of these other brands, so I did want to point that out. This is just like my little secret weapon that I use in these other foundations to make my skin look super glowy. I do have one other thing to say about it though that you should know. It smells. Like it does. It smells like paint. I really hate that, but that's how good it looks that I will sacrifice smelling that smell for maybe 30 minutes. It does eventually go away, but I will sacrifice smelling that smell on my skin for a little bit just because it does look so good. I have to think that can't be very good for you, but I have not broken out from this by any means, and I do have sensitive skin, but it's just so good. It really takes your foundation to that next level of dewiness and glow, so I highly recommend it. They also have a really good shade range in terms of like the spectrum. I don't think there's a ton of shades, but they literally have this in white and then like a really dark shade, so there's not too many in between. But since you might be using this like I do, which is just to mix in other foundations, it's really not an issue. Next, I want to talk about another affordable foundation that I have recommended to so many people, and they've all come back and said they love it. When someone specifically asks me for a drugstore foundation recommendation for dry skin, this is the one I always recommend. It is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. This is the perfect amount of dew without slip sliding around like sometimes the LA Girl one would do on me because it's so dewy. This is dewy, it's radiant, but it's very long wearing, very good coverage, has SPF 15 in it. I love this. I also love the shade range. The undertones are really good for me, at least. I tend to be more on the yellow or olive side. Sometimes that's hard to find at the drugstore, but this shade right here is 205 Natural Beige, and this works really good for me. I always have to have this on hand. I've probably gone through at least 3 tubes of this in the last couple years, and it's really good. I love how my skin looks with this. This is another one that whenever I use this and then put on my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, I just feel like this cheek area, I don't know, these two pair really well together, so I love that. They also have a matte version of this. I have never tried it just because I love this one so much, but when someone asks me for a drugstore foundation recommendation and if they're looking for matte, I do point them in that direction and they tend to really like it. Definitely pick this up if you haven't already. It's drugstore. It's totally worth giving a try. I literally cannot live without this. I love this stuff. Now, the fifth foundation I'm going to talk about, and the last one for this video, is the foundation that I am wearing now with a little bit of the LA Girl Pro Coverage in it. This is the Nars Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. This came out maybe a year or two ago. I think maybe just a year ago. I've only had this for 2 or 3 months, but the minute I tried it and still now, I'm obsessed with it. Every time I wear it, I feel like my skin looks amazing. It's radiant, but it really just like melds into your skin and like sticks on there. And I don't mean like sticks in a bad way, like sticks to dry patches. I just mean when I put this on, I feel like my face is like sealed, like it's going to stay. I don't know how it does it while still being radiant, because sometimes those dewy foundations can slide around. This does not do that. It's so crazy. It's not super dewy. It is called Radiant Foundation, Radiant Longwear. This is definitely more natural and a little less dewy than like the L'Oreal one, and by far the LA Girl one. That's why I threw a little bit of this in there to give it a little more dew. But this is like the perfect natural satin finish foundation that actually looks natural and satiny and doesn't end up becoming matte. This just looks so natural while still giving me so much coverage. It's amazing. I wish I would have picked this up before. It's quickly become my current favorite. Of course, these are all my favorites, but my current favorite foundation that I'm obsessed with and love to keep reaching for right now is this one right here. I also love the packaging. One thing to note, the pump does not dispense a lot of product. I probably had to do 4 pumps of this, but each little pump is like the tiniest pea size, which I don't mind. I don't mind having to pump it a few times. It really ensures that you don't overdo it. If you are looking for something that is full coverage but looks really natural and skin-like, this is it. This is so good. If you want to take it to the next level with even more dew, pick up the LA Girl for an extra $6 and mix the two of them. I really think you'll like it. I think you'll like any of these foundations, but I'm just really high on this one right now because it's kind of like my new baby. So those are my top 5 foundations for dewy skin. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if there's one of these 5 or a couple that you plan on trying, and definitely follow up with me and let me know if you liked it. I always want to know if my recommendations work for you. Something might work for me but not for you, and that's okay. But honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with one of these 5 foundations. I really think these are super, super good. Let me know down in the comments if you plan on trying one of these, or if you have maybe a different type of skin, and give us some recommendations down there for other people who don't necessarily have dry skin. Or if you do have dry skin like me, but maybe there's a foundation I didn't mention that really, really works well for you, I would love to know what that is and add it to my collection. I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next one, hopefully. Bye!